me stop playing here. Oh, by the way, hello viewers. Another beautiful day or night. Yeah. Hope your five senses work. Health and strength is good or excellent. What? All right, look. So devs no longer listen to gamers' demands, says former Xbox exec. And we got another article here. Say Ubisoft CEO blames gamers after poor sales of Star Wars. Let me address this one. Address these two articles. Listen to this. It says here, the gaming industry is currently struggling to stay on its feet. On one hand, huge success like Black Myth Wukong and Pal World shows the industry has much more to give. But on the other hand, various AAA production have completely failed in recent years. It says discussing these scenarios, a former Xbox executive has made an excellent video detail how the industry reached this point. According to her video, the industry is currently doing a poor job listening to fans. Why it matters. Many developers have recently ignored fans' feedback. Some have even chosen to ridicule audience for disagreeing or sharing different opinions. It says here, she deems the bubble responsible for a recent disappointment like Redfall and Dragon Age. The Veilguard. In her video, Laura Fryer discussed the history of game marketing and how journalists develop relationships with key figures in the industry. The likes of Todd Howard became famous as face of major franchise, while people like Jeff Keighley slowly grew to become more as reputed journalists. These journalists often befriend popular developers due to recurring interaction, giving both parties leverage over the industry. Laura Fryer further explained that game companies would often plan their bottom line months in advance, leading to journalists saying and doing exactly what the studios want. Ultimately, this ended up creating a bubble where the media agreed and praised studios for everything they did, eliminating honest feedback. And then it says, when you're in a bubble, it's easy to make bad choices. You stop understanding what the gamers want. Laura Fryer. And then they showed reviews for Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Checkpoint Gaming gave it 100. Who was this? PlayStation Universe gave it 95. Who was this? Digital Trend gave it 70. IGN gave it 80. Pure Xbox gave it 90. Then the article says, as an example of the bubble, Laura Fryer highlights how major publication seemingly contradicts its own. Dragon Age: The Veilguard review mere weeks after the score went live. Moreover, she discussed the fact that multiple Dragon Age Veilguard reviews used the specific return to form quote that one director wished for. Phil Spencer also noted that mock reviews for Redfall were much better than the final reception, indicating the bigger problem. And then it says Laura Fryer ultimately concluded that studios have lost sight of gamers' perspective. The bubble does not always reflect what the fans want, but this is easy to forget when studios are seemingly surrounded by yes men who never speak up or criticize them. Then it says this perhaps why many AAA production are so focused on specific elements that goes against fans' demands. Ubisoft in particular is currently struggling in similar manner, with the team previously admitting that it no longer knows how to consistently reach a large audience. And then that's the end of the article. Now, here's the other one. See if I can get through it. It says here, Ubisoft CEO blame gamers after poor sales of Star Wars Outlaw. Gamers expecting extraordinary experience. It says here, you might be hearing a lot about Ubisoft lately, and that isn't going to stop anytime soon. The company right now is a complete mess. Due to that, there is an internal investigation going on. The stocks are falling due to recent failures of Star Wars and the delay of Assassin's Creed Shadows. That said, the CEO has blamed gamers for poor sales of his recent Star Wars title. Why it matters is pretty much a given that Star Wars Outlaw wouldn't sell despite being a major game. Ubisoft recently commented that the sales of its recent Star Wars game were below expectation, which has caused turmoil for the gaming giant. However, instead of taking responsibility for the damage, the CEO have to blame the fandom. It says, speaking on an investor call recently, Yves Guillemot said that delivering a solid quality isn't enough for gamers anymore. He thinks that gamers have extraordinary expectations that are hard to meet. In today's challenging market, with gamers expecting extraordinary experience, delivering solid quality is no longer enough. Yves Guillemot, then he said, he seems to be blaming the fandom for Star Wars Outlaw failure. Many critics criticized the game even before launch, and those hints were enough to determine that it wasn't going to sell well. Then it says here, also Ubisoft delay Assassin's Creed Shadow to polish it further as it wants to meet the gamers' extraordinary expectation. The CEO did say that they must strive for excellence in all aspects of their work, so it seems like there will be improvements done on upcoming Assassin's Creed games. It says, however, the game main controversy still revolve around Yasuke, and a 3 month is just not enough time to replace the protagonist unless a miracle happens. Even though it might seem like Guillemot is blaming gamers for its recent game soft sales, he has a point that many have unrealistic expectations nowadays, which is almost impossible to meet. Okay, that's the end of both articles. Now let me get into this. Look, like I told you guys before, communication is big in video games. You know, communication is very big. We got email systems. We got social media. We got video conferencing. We got blogs. We got podcasts, right? So communication is big in video games. You know, the developers now, they can't hide anymore. I mean, when we never had social media, they had the power. But once social media came to the forefront, it exposes a lot of things. So developers can't run and hide anymore. So communication is big. So for a developer to succeed in today's game industry, they need to communicate with the gamers, you know. And a lot of times gamers, you know, a lot of times gamers try to save a company from making a bad choice, you know. And when gamers communicate with developers, you know, we're trying to help the company grow. So we see the gamer. A lot of gamers like myself, we see the potential of the game, and sometimes we give up. We make videos and we say this needs to be added to the game. We're trying to improve on the experience of the game, and we're trying to open the game up because of the hardware we have now. For instance, like take DC Universe for a minute. I said this months ago, like we needed an update where we can jump off the Gotham City police blimp. You always see that Gotham City GCPD police blimp going around in circles, and I've said that we need an update where we could fly up to the top of the blimp and land on top of it, stand around and battle or do whatever, but then jump off of it or fly off of it or go do something. I said that months ago. Have we gotten that update yet? No. Months ago I said Batman Arkham Asylum needed the Arkham Knight engine in it, and the environments need to be more explorable. Has that update happened yet? No. Okay. You can't even sit in Batman Arkham Asylum. The game is incomplete because you can't even sit on a rail. Right? You can't even go like this. You can't even dive down full speed and then go up like this. You can't do that. The game is missing that. And then some of the areas need to be more explorable. For instance, like the lighthouse next to the Arkham Asylum courtyard. We need to explore the lighthouse. That update hasn't happened yet. So the game is not done. So gamers try to help developers that way. It's not that we're trying to get on your nerve. We see the potential of the game. And when we're playing the game, we feel limited in the game to where we can't do certain things. So we need these updates to happen to make the game more enjoyable. Take Arkham City. In Arkham City, You can't even fly out. You can't even fly off the Hugo Strange Light Tower and land on any building you want to. You can't do that. Where's the update for that? What about when you're sitting on the light pole and then someone like walks under you and you decide to hang upside down and snatch them? Where's the update for that? That hasn't happened. The same goes for Arkham Origins. In Arkham Origins, you can't even swing from light pole to light pole. That update is missing. You can't even get to the top of the lighthouse by the bridge and then fly in, land on top of the pillars. Can't do that. You can't get to the top of the Joker Plaza where the gargoyle is, or even on top of the plaza and fly off of it. You can't do that. Those are updates that we need for the game to be complete. And it's called communication. So gamers like myself, we try to work with developers like, look, this needs to happen, this needs to happen. It's not unrealistic expectation. It's what we see that the game needs to make it more fun, make it more pleasant. In Arkham Origins, for instance, they're in the underground. When you go down where the water is running, you see some bats flying. Okay, where does that go to? Does that go back to the Bat Cave or does it go to the Black Gate? Where does it go? That area needs to be more explorable. So gamers try to help developers that way. It's not that we have unrealistic expectation. We see it. A lot of us when we play, we see it like the game needs this and needs that to be more explorable. To be more enjoyable. It's like the game as is right now. We feel kind of limited, like we can't get to certain areas. Okay, it's one thing. Okay, it's one thing if you fly on top of a roof and then the wind pushes you back. Okay, fine. But the other areas like that need to be explored. Where's the updates for those games? So it's not that gamers have unrealistic expectation. Is what we see when we're playing it. For instance, like when the Avengers came out, Crystal Dynamics didn't follow the blueprint that DC Universe laid out because WB made DC Universe. It came out on the PS3 and PC. And that game was like, okay, if you're going to make a superhero game, it needs to be in this format. Did Crystal Dynamics follow the blueprint or that format? No. When the Avengers came out, there was so much content missing from that game. That's why gamers got mad. So it's not unrealistic expectation. A lot of us gamers like myself, I would say a handful of us, we study these games and we look at games that set patterns of what games are going to be. So when we see things, we bring it up. It's not to disrespect the developers. No, it was like we're demanding that this needs to happen to make the game more enjoyable. In the Avengers, there was so much content missing from that game. You couldn't fly on side of the bridge. You couldn't fly on the right. You couldn't fly on the right side of the bridge. You couldn't fly on the left side. You couldn't fly under it. You couldn't fly straight through it and then fly down. You couldn't do that. You couldn't drop down in the bay and then fly back up to the top of the bridge. You couldn't do none of that. All that content is missing. And the first stage alone, when you're going through the city, you couldn't even get to the top of the buildings. And then when you get down to the docks and then you get down to the Ames building where the security cameras were, and then you look up and you're like, okay, you got Iron Man. You try to fly to the top of the building, and then you try to use Iron Man to get to the top of the building. You couldn't. The farthest you can get is to the height of the security camera, and that was it. That is not unrealistic expectation. The game was incomplete. So when gamers are coming at you, it's not to disrespect. It's to open your eyes to a matter, to a problem that the game is facing that needs to be fixed. I'm just saying. So when when Yves Guillemot is saying that that gamers have unrealistic expectation, they need to check it. For instance, when EA came out with the loot box, none of us knew that the loot box was in the game. None of us knew until a gamer discovered it. And then you attack Star Wars? Oh, no. And you know how big the Star Wars and Star Trek fan base is. You're going to hear from them. So when they found that out, they're like, oh, really? We just bought the game, but now you want us to pay extra cash? Oh no, no. Just because we open a box? No, that can't fly. And that created a problem. And you see the outcome of that. So that is not unrealistic expectation. Is that gamers try to communicate with developers. So it's not that we have unrealistic expectation. We've been playing games for years. A lot of us have. We paid attention to the details, to the ins and outs of video games, and there were certain games that let us know we were going to the open world arena. I knew this. I don't know about other gamers, but I can speak for myself. There were games that letting me know, like, okay, we're going. We saw when we were playing games on the Super Nintendo Genesis, the consoles, they were limited, so you can only get the games to play a certain way. Then when they got to the PlayStation 1, Sega Saturn, who was that? And the Nintendo 64, everything now is starting to be 3D. We can move in certain directions, but within that console era, there were games in that era that let us know games are going to be open world. For instance, Mario 64 was one of them. Just saying. Zelda Ocarina of Time. And by the way, Zelda Ocarina of Time is an open world game, by the way, for those who don't know. Who else? Who was that? Final Fantasy let us know that we were going in that open world arena. Even Gran Turismo let us know that we were going. Every year games were building up to let us know that we were going in an open world environment when it comes to video games. Then when it came to the PS2, Dreamcast, GameCube, yeah, the open world games started to take shape. We had Shenmue letting us know that we're gonna go in an open world environment. We had Final Fantasy 12 where we were moving around the bosses to let us know that we were going in an open world environments. Real gamers like myself, we study this stuff. We know it. So when we were playing today's games, we were getting every console from the past generation. We were getting prepped for today's games. So it's not just unrealistic expectation. It's what gamers saw, and we know it. So when a game is having a problem, we're trying to communicate with the developers. Like, look, this need to be added to this. This need to be added to the game to make the game more enjoyable. And it's not that we're trying to talk down on developers. It's just the problem at hand. So yeah, gamers don't have unrealistic expectation. Now some people on YouTube might take it to the extreme where they're cursing and disrespecting developers. That's going a little bit too far. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, man, communication is big in video games. So developers, you can't hide anymore. You can't. Social media expose you. You're not just because you work at a company, that don't mean you're above anybody else. Okay? Because if you get stripped from the position you are, then you're just like everybody else. You're not above. You're just in a position, that demands your time, man. So gamers don't have unrealistic expectation, man. It's just we see that games are not finished. When it comes to Redfall, I haven't played it. I'm sure people attacked it. Attacked it the wrong way. They probably were mad because Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard. That's a part of it. But is that game far from finished? Nah. There needs to be some more work done to that game, and that the first game to Redfall could have been the foundation for Redfall 2, but maybe we're not going to get to see a chance of that. So it's not unrealistic expectation, man. It's just that gamers that's been playing games for years, they know a lot. I just think developers need to give gamers credit where credit is due. It's not that gamers trying to come at them in any way. It's just today's developers, they can't hide anymore. They have to communicate with They have to communicate with the players. They have to. If they don't, then it's going to be their downfall. So yeah. Um, when you look at Ubisoft and what they're going through, when it came to Star Wars Outlaw, they were sending the wrong message with it. They were sending the wrong message with it, and they put a girl on front cover with a robot, and and then she's acting all masculine and stuff. So the Star Wars universe didn't want to see that, man, and that front cover alone destroyed the game. People saw the game. When EA messed up with the Battlefront situation, since they had the Star Wars license, and when Disney took it away from them, when EA messed up, and then Ubisoft talking about they're going to make a Star Wars game, a lot of gamers were looking forward to it. They were, and they were disappointed when the game came out because it's not what they were expecting. Ubisoft was talking like they could make a better Star Wars game, according to Ubisoft, and then they got the opportunity, and they blew it. And that front cover alone turned a lot of people off. Like, this isn't Star Wars. And then when the game came out, it was unfinished. It wasn't even complete. So that's not the game. That's not the gamer's fault. That's Ubisoft. Trying to push a standard on people that they weren't expecting. And look at the outcome. So gamers don't have high expectations. A lot of us, I would say, a bunch of us, we read, playing the video games is one thing, but we do a lot of reading up on stuff, and we get an understanding. The reading helps us to understand gameplay mechanics and all that. So when we're voicing our opinion on something, it's not to tear the company down or nothing like that. We're trying to help the studio from save them from themselves, man. So I just think studios, they get too big. Some studios, they get too big-headed and thinking they're untouchable, and then all of a sudden they find themselves in a jam, and now they try to blame gamers for their problems, but it's not the gamers. It's not the gamers' fault, man. It's like it's the studio. It's the studio, man. So like I told people, like some of today's games, you need DLC. Some of today's games, you need DLCs and expansions to complete them. DLCs and expansions to complete them. So and updates. So because of how big and how vast they are. Some games can be live service. Some of them, not all of them. You got to have balance in the game industry. You got to some games can be live service, but you just got to have balance in the category of games. When you're bringing them out. Sure, you can have your multiplayer games, your single player games, your your co-op games, but you got to have balance in the industry, man. And I think some games that came out, and they didn't do so well. Maybe it's the user base of that platform, like with Redfall for PlayStation. I mean, not Redfall, but I'm trying to think of the game here. The game that just came out on PlayStation, and they shut it down. Maybe you could blame that maybe you could blame that on the PlayStation user base. Maybe PlayStation fans are not into shooters like they claim. They're more of a RPG adventure type, single player type platform. So maybe you need to blame PlayStation users for that. But yeah, man, gamers don't have high expectation, man. It's just maybe some of them do, but not everybody. But I think gamers try to communicate with developers, developers that don't listen, they pay a price, man. They pay a price, and today's gamers too need to understand that you need DLCs and expansions to complete today's game. Once you bring it out, now you got to update, follow it up, and improve the gameplay mechanics and stuff like that. So, yeah. But other than that, man, it's the game industry, man. You have high moments and you have low moments. yeah, and then take it from there. But that's just my thoughts on it. I could talk forever, but I'm not gonna do it. But yeah, man, communication is big in today's gaming industry. So the developers, they can't hide anymore, man. They can't hide anymore because you know, if they don't communicate with their users, it's gonna be bad for that studio. It's not gonna be good. You know, it's gonna the stocks is gonna be dropping like this. So yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna leave this video for y'all to enjoy though. Nice talking to you people again. Chris, still Star Wars and Star Trek thing for Dark Side. Go. Peace.